The show today is brand new in Jackson. He's the new director of the Jackson Housing Commission, Arturo Puckerin. Arturo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be with you, Bart.
Yeah, and welcome to Jackson.
Oh, beautiful town.
How do you like it so far?
Oh, I love it. I'm just loving this Michigan weather. You never know what you're going to get. It's the Christmas season. More excited than ever.
Well, before the show, you told me that you grew up an Army brat, so you've lived all over the country.
Yeah.
And you chose Great Lakes
Oh,
because you like the lakes.
Yeah. Yeah, so Army brat, I was born in Brooklyn, New York. And, my parents, they went into the military. My uncle, Arturo, he had actually passed away about a year or two before I was born. He was pretty high up in basketball, cardiac issues, and my mother wanted to go into cardiology. One of the key things for us being first generation, my parents being from Panama, was joining the military. It was a gateway to access to economic opportunity for a lot of us. Led to me living in about 5 different states, out west, down south, finally ending with undergrad in Buffalo. And I guess I got used to the cold, came out here to beautiful Michigan for law school, and haven't left since. But being a part of that military home, being a part of that medical home was always something that from a very early age ignited a spark in me for public service and for really finding solutions to poverty.
Yeah, I was looking at some of your experiences in your professional background. You've had a lot of roles where you are working with organizations that have a social justice component, particularly in housing.
Yeah.
So there's some passion in that?
Yeah, in this work, and that was one of the key things that sparked that light in me in law school. I was coming from that criminal justice background in undergrad, came to law school, and it was then that I realized in that lens that we were reactive to a lot of the problems, to a lot of the issues that surmount in society. And I wanted to be proactive. That's what led to me going into working in community action. I took a role as a housing programs coordinator in 4 counties, and I became an integral piece of doing something annually called community health needs assessments. And every year we would do these community health needs assessments where we would work with all kinds of partners in our neighboring counties, and we would identify what the top barriers to economic opportunity were in the area. And if we did a scan and found that our partners or us weren't providing services and programs to address those, we would write out grants to then offer those services. Time and time again, year in and year out, housing continues to be that elephant in the room that stands as a premier barrier to access to economic opportunity for millions of Americans, and right down here at home in Jackson.
Yeah, and really it is, and I think we're going to see it in the campaigns next year, housing.
Oh goodness, yeah.
It's an issue right here in Jackson, as everyone knows.
Yeah.
Some of our viewers may be surprised to hear that we have something called the Jackson Housing Commission.
Oh yeah.
It's really not that well known because it does kind of operate under the radar. Tell us a little bit about what this commission is.
Yeah, so in the Housing Commission, we are actually part of a national network through HUD on a national scale, and we administer everything from public housing to Section 8 to housing choice vouchers to even access to scattered homes. And this is in an effort to provide quality, safe, affordable, and more importantly, sanitary housing solutions for many folks in need. At the Housing Commission, we serve as a conduit for folks that are in that 30, 50, 80% AMI, which are average to median income levels per household in our area. We address the housing insecurities, and then we provide supportive services to help folks come in, lift them up, and help get them out on that path towards self-sufficiency, building credit, and for many in hopes of these programs and services, home ownership.
So we have some complexes that are essentially apartment complexes that are in the program.
Oh yeah.
So how many housing units do we have?
Yeah, so we have 3 amps, and amps are essentially our 3 locations where we have, first we have the Reed Manor, which is our central location right around the corner. We have just over 300 actual units there. Then we have our Shahan, which is kind of more of our family units, just over 125 there. And then we have the Chalet, which is actually our oldest, which is around 150 as well. So we're serving hundreds and hundreds of folks every year. Also excited about some new opportunities, some new developments with our local partners called the Greenwood and the Blackstone, where in the coming fiscal years, we're going to be developing 16 more housing units. The only regret is that it couldn't be 1,600 more in this climate.
Yeah, so those are, they haven't broke ground yet.
Not
but
yet,
we've heard about them. Are they a go?
Oh yeah, they're all steam a-go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when the Albert Kahn opened, they had, after they filled up, they had eight 3-ring binders full of applications for that's the
I can
waiting
imagine.
list. The waiting list.
Yeah, here in Michigan, it's just over 50,000 for the Section 8 waiting list. We have a lot of good work to do. And one of the most important things I want to say here today is that it's through partnerships. It's through participation in our continuum of cares. It's through networking with our good folks like the Salvation Army, our public, our local, and many officials and partners abound that truly gets this work done. This issue with housing insecurity is something that continues to threaten the access to economic opportunity for not only folks in our low to moderate income thresholds. It means that we need to be as progressive as possible. And with that comes my dedication to heightening internal controls, to maintaining and establishing new healthy relationships with our partners, and really starting 2024 with a bang here in housing.
I understand that there are some big moves afoot to replace or do something about the oldest units, the oldest
Site,
complexes.
our app, yeah.
Yeah, Reed Manor and Chalet Terrace. These have been there for a long time.
Yeah.
They're not modern. They've got issues, and the community wants to do something, and it's something big, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah. And one of the biggest pieces of this RAD, of this development, of these upgrades to these facilities, again, it comes right back to the strength in us being part of a national network. By tightening our internal controls, tightening our books, and tightening our efforts, which we're now doing, we open and access those opportunities for federal funding to continue to enhance and support not only our facilities and services, but our programs. We expect these waiting lists to grow, and we'd like to grow in service.
What do you think about this community having 50% of the housing as non-owner occupied? How does that fit in with what other communities, the ratio of other communities' housing?
Yeah, there's an old song, "I Left My Heart in San Francisco." I say it breaks my heart to say that's consistent with a lot of what we're seeing in major cities across America. When I remember an old story is, growing up in a military home, and when we were living in Los Angeles, I remember being 9 or 10 years old and asking my stepfather, what is it with California? Why is it that housing is so expensive here? What is the issue? Is it Hollywood? And he kind of joked. He said, no, son, it's, as the decades have gone by and everyone's building subdivisions and you're seeing all these housing showing up on highway exits, California's just been a little bit slower for a variety of other reasons. So it becomes a supply and demand issue. And it lit a light in me. I said, it's supply and demand. It's a numbers issue. It's not only that we need access to affordable housing, we need an access to affordable housing options. And that's what's so important for us as that conduit, to be a key piece of housing development, because in essence, that's community development. And that's what we need more than ever here in this great city.
We have this initiative that's planning to build 100 homes.
Oh yeah.
That will essentially become owner-occupied,
Yeah.
right? But it's just.
Yeah,
we've got a long ways to go.
Oh yeah. It's a work in progress.
Does the Jackson Housing Commission, besides operating the complexes. Are there plans to do single-family home building?
Yeah, as I said, we have some scattered homes now. The scattered homes are doing great. Many on the south side, again, we can only use 2 to 3 times more. These conversations and these partnerships are a huge part of our work, again, under the guidance and tutelage of HUD in our national network. That's the great part about being inclusive to a national network dedicated to that mission of housing, is that we have partners in every community abound, and we're all working together in stride. You know, one of the great things I've noticed as I came into Jackson, and I've talked with folks like you, I've talked with staff, community partners, even restaurateurs, is that all of the concerns and the issues and the opportunities for solutions, they all overlap. Everybody in this community is on the same page about what they want to see in Jackson and how to get there. That makes me excited every morning to hit the ground running with all you.
And you mentioned California, and you really don't have to look far.
Yeah.
Ann Arbor is an example.
Go Blue.
Yeah, so
Rose Bowl.
the expense and the supply in Ann Arbor, completely different story than Jackson.
Sure.
And that's affecting us because people that can't find a place to live in Ann Arbor,
Yeah.
they're looking here.
Sure. Like in many big cities. Yeah.
So what's the timeline? I understand that one of the things that is a possibility is that Reed Manor would be completely torn down and something rebuilt in its place. Is that still a possibility?
No. We're looking more towards revamping, renewing, and refreshing.
And with the number of units that are planned with the Blackstone and the Greenwood, if those fill up, which I bet they do, just like that, does MISHTA look at Jackson as a community that should get priority for more projects like that?
Absolutely, because again, that's when we'll come in, we'll partner with all of our folks and conduct our community health needs assessments, and we'll put the numbers. We'll say, here are the seniors, here are folks who are disabled, here are the individuals and families, here are the numbers of folks who are unhoused versus folks that potentially could be. We do a geographic scan of our surrounding areas, and that's how we really reach out to folks like the Economic Development Coalition, to the state, and even to the federal government for support so that we can continue to develop that safe, affordable, and sanitary housing.
How about homelessness? Is that an issue that the Jackson Housing Commission addresses?
Yeah, it's a big part of our clientele, actually. Again, we are the conduit in many respects. We're the last stop for folks who are in that rapid rehousing, chronically homeless demographic. And that's why bringing back those supportive services in the coming days and months is going to be so critical. Our goal is going to be to bring folks in, help bring them up, and then help get them back out on that path to self-sufficiency so that we can continue to make space and grow and develop, but with solutions, housing solutions.
People might think, well, I am not in an income level where I qualify for some help with housing, but based on changes with parameters and what is real life for a lot of folks, the thresholds changed a lot, so that people that previously thought they might not qualify for assistance are suddenly able to.
Absolutely. It's a big reason why housing continues to stay stagnant as that barrier to economic opportunity. President Obama once said, when we were talking about wage reform and middle wage reform, about how we necessarily can't wave a magic wand to increase wages, but what we can do is help offset the cost of living in this work. If housing is that elephant in the room, we're excited to be able to address and tackle that issue. But again, it'll come with partnership, from our community partners abound, but also our state and public officials.
And the timeline, so the urgency is pretty high with supply.
Yeah.
So what kind of timeline are we at for first the Reed Manor and Schley Terrace, and then the 2 new projects?
So within the next 2 fiscal cycles. And with that said, our fiscal cycle actually begins in the spring. But that's something that we're hitting the ground running with, and we're treating it long range. We're treating it as a pilot. We're understanding that the deliverables, that the successes of these programs are going to introduce opportunities for more funding and more community development right here in Jackson.
Well, you told us a little bit about you and your family and your history.
Yeah.
First generation from Panama.
Yeah.
And your parents came here from Panama?
Yeah, my dad was from Barbados. My mom was from Panama City.
And what brought them? What brought them to the United States?
Yeah, it was that early '70s New York City gold rush. You know, my family had come from Barbados to Panama to a lot of work on the Panama Canal. Back then, the U.S. Army, we had 5 bases, the Southern Command Network. It was a great opportunity for English-speaking folks, because folks in the Caribbean also spoke English, to come to Panama and get American-level wages, and it was a good opportunity for economic opportunity. My grandfather saw that as a gateway for my mother and for my uncles, and they went full steam ahead into the Army, used that to pay for college and their respective careers, and the rest was history.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your family. You've got a wife and kids.
Yeah, so I'm proud to say that I have an 8-week-old daughter. She just turned 8 weeks 5 days ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I am so excited. It is divine. I also have a 5-year-old going on 25. He's her ultimate bodyguard. And then I have a 9-year-old, and we coach. I coach sports all year round. We do a lot of work with the church. Just staying busy, staying active, and staying excited. Try to set a good path for my kids, and I try to set a good tone. And with that, it became contagious, one sport after another.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Arturo also played ball, so I think he'll be doing some coaching, probably his own
yeah.
kids. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, great to have you here in Jackson. Good luck in your new position, and thanks for coming in today.
Yeah. Thank you, Bart.
Good to see you.
Let's see you.
Arturo Puckerin is the new executive director of the Jackson Housing Commission. Lots